Hello and welcome to the second session in the series Sad Diet to Self-Care Superstar, and this is given by Pamela Ziemann, and I'm your host, Tamara Belland. I want to talk a little bit about what we've been doing. Yesterday we had one session, and today this session is going to be about disease prevention and how to age gracefully, because that's something certainly all of us are we know the importance of it. I'm thinking one of the things for me is so that I can continue to grow and learn and change and share. Because if I go downhill, with my, getting worse with disease or with, my brain not thinking clearly, things that people take for granted are part of aging, what good am I going to be? So, that's just one little tidbit of why I'm here. So one of the main reasons I'm here is to get to know the people here in this community. We have so much to share, and today I want to say one thing we're going to do right away today is talk about 2 to 3 things that you can do in your life to make a big difference. So that's what this mini-series is about. We're not just talking heads here, we're actually connecting with you, listening to what you have to say, and we have some wonderful ideas about change and the things that are easy. So before I go on any further, let me introduce Pamela Ziemann. Pamela.
Hello, everybody. And it's so true what you say, Tamara. It isn't just about getting this on an intellectual level. I know for a long time I would read books and it all made sense to me, but it wasn't until I started eating differently that I actually felt different. So that's why we're really excited to have you here today, because last session we talked about the system and how it can be so difficult to get out of the system. Yeah, it can be really hard. So how can we do that? And a couple things that we're going to talk about today is adding more alkaline foods to our diet and also to add more fiber to our diet. There's a lot more to it, but we're going to talk about that because most of us have been brought up with the standard American diet, which is basically, when you and I were growing up, Tamara, it was the 4 food groups like meat, dairy, grains, and what else was there? Meat, dairy, grains. It was basically a happy meal, right? You got the hamburger, you got and vegetables, right? So with the happy meal, you have the bun, which is the grain. You have the meat, you have the dairy, and then you have a little leaf of lettuce, which is, like no nutrients at all because it's probably so old. So we're going to be talking about how to get out of that old system into a new, better, healthier lifestyle.
Hooray!
Yeah. One thing we talked about was the processed people. That was a video that we had in the homework section, and when I watched it again last night, I realized it shows how we are processed from the cradle to the grave. So from the very beginning, like for me, I wasn't breastfed because in that era, all the manufacturers were telling us that we really needed to have baby food out of a jar rather than mother's breast milk. And then it goes all the way until like 90% of Americans over 60 years old are on medication. So it's like cradle to grave, and we want to get out of that package system, crazy, crazy system.
And I want to just add something that comes to mind is, there's more and more billionaires being created every week. And, those billionaires, they are making money from the food industry or from, there's a million ways they're making money, but it's from us being at the tail end of all this, us just following along, tromping along, eating what we're, advertised to eat, and, it's not really doing us any good except, we're getting on more medication.
That's true. And as Krishnamurti said, it is no sign of health to be well adjusted to a sick society. So I think a lot of us know that, but we're like, how do we get out of it?
All right, so you're in the right place, and we're happy that you've joined us today, and if you're watching in replay, we're extra happy about that too. So.
And why don't we just pull up, we've got a lot of comments out there. The first comment from Christopher Parasol says, do you know if there are any studies showing that natural diets have a direct correlation to longevity? And let's talk about that. I'm so glad you asked that, Christopher, because the Hunsas have been studied, and they're in northern India, and the Hunsas have, actually it's pronounced Hunzas. Hunzas. The Hunzas, it is not uncommon for these guys to live to 130 to 145 years old. And at 90 years old, the guys are still fathering children. Pretty amazing. Now, it isn't just food, although they do mostly raw fruits and vegetables. They eat some nuts, and they have very, very limited amount of protein. Like they'll have meat maybe 13 days out of the year, a few ounces at that. So they do a lot of exercise as well. But when I look at USDA and they're recommending, you know, maybe 5 fruits, vegetables, things like that, and then I look at the Hunsas, it's like, well, which way do you want to go? Do you want to go with the standard American, you know, or the Hunsas live to 145? And even the Okinawans, they get like, well, I think they eat between 13 and 17 vegetables a day.
All right, well, I want to add something about the Hunsas, is that the 100-year-old people are just, they're not old or elderly. People don't say, oh, this is an old person, you know, they're old thinking or old acting or old moving. They're just like a normal person. So, you know, that's how I want to be.
That's how I want to be too. You know, it's like, okay, so everybody's talking about a long life. You can get to be 100 years old, but do we want the last 10 years of our life to be like not really coherent and, you know, not being able to go to the bathroom on our own and things like that? So it's like, Hunzas, yeah, I like that lifestyle a lot.
And in pain, you know, we don't have to be in pain. We don't have to have arthritis and just hobble around and all that stuff. That, you know, that's not needed.
Right.
Okay.
And here's John Frasca. John asks, how many Americans are eating the recommended number of servings of fruits and vegetables every day? Well, as an audience member, let me just ask you out there, and please put your comments in the comment section. How many fruits and vegetables did you eat yesterday? Or if it's the end of the day for you, over there in Germany, Marcus, how many fruits and vegetables did you eat today? I did a class one time, and I was teaching at a hair school. And so I asked people to write down everything they ate that day, and my heart just went out to people, especially this one young girl, because she listed muffins, 500 calories, you know, donuts, granola bars, and some of those granola bars are actually like candy bars, right? And then hamburgers, and she had a taco salad, and so the only vegetable she had in there was a little bit of lettuce in that salad. And the studies show that we need at least 5 just to maintain our health. And I thought, here's this 20-year-old girl not even maintaining her health. And if we want optimal health, we need 10 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. So when I went to the store yesterday, I was going to put all these in my kitchen, but I thought, why not just load them up here behind where I'm sitting behind the camera? And this is basically what I eat in a couple days. People are always asking me, well, what do you eat? And I'm like, I didn't grow up like this, and this would have seemed pretty crazy when I was growing up back in Minnesota. We'd have maybe a banana, maybe one banana, and then a bunch of meat. But yeah, this is all alkaline too.
Is this a good time to talk about alkaline, Pamela?
Yeah, sure. Let's do that, because we are in an inflammation nation. You know, most of what Americans eat, 2/3 of it is acidic. And you know about acid foods, right, Tamara?
Well, yes. Let's review that for people. And acid foods are foods that turn into acid in our systems, such as you know, meat, dairy, the regular things, sugar, processed foods, the things that we are sold to you know, consume a lot of, and grains, and also on that list. I think refined grains particularly. So, but alkalizing foods are the greens, the vegetables, the fruits, and as we alkalize our bodies. Let's see, I have a couple notes here to keep my mind straight on it.
And while you're looking for your notes, I just wanted to say that negative thoughts are also acidifying to our body. So it isn't just the food that we're taking in. GMOs are very acidifying to our body as well.
So as we eat foods that are over acid, these acids build up in our fatty tissues and our connective tissues, and so and it also makes us, keep the fat on. That's part of the thing. And if we can eat more of the alkaline foods, it will help us get rid of the fat, but it will also get our pH balanced correctly. It will improve our moods. It will it just increase our longevity. So that's one of the things, to get out of that acid habit.
Right. And the thing with acid foods is we get a little bit of a hit from them because they are very stimulating. So we think we want more of them. It's like, give me another burger, give me something like that that will get us stimulated. But when we have an alkalized environment in our body, then we maintain more of a constant energy. And, I was thinking about this, Tamara, because I have this hydroponic tower garden, and I have to get the pH level at 7.4, pretty close to that. And if I don't have that, the plants don't grow well at all. And also when I had an aquarium years ago, I was always thinking, I've got to check the pH balance so that the fish live in the aquarium. And this kind of gets back to session number 1, where we were talking about how we're thinking about other people and outside sources more than we actually are thinking about ourselves. So how alkalized is our own body, and how healthy can we be by eating more alkalizing foods?
So are you saying, Pamela, that we're focusing outward on other people and we're not really paying attention to how we're feeling and our pH and everything?
I think so, because, like growing up on the farm, my parents were always concerned about getting the right oil in the car, the right oils in the tractors, things like that. But as far as our own bodies, we really weren't that educated. And that's part of why we're doing this mini courses, to help educate ourselves and everybody else on what's really going to be optimal for our bodies so that we can function and really, fulfill our life purpose. I know it sounds very altruistic, but it's true. I mean, I think most of us really want to, feel like we matter on the planet. And if we have bodies that are very acidic and tired and sick, it's pretty dang hard to do that.
Yes, it's easy to get in a funk. It's, a slump. Things like that describe the feeling of an acidic lifestyle.
One time, this was many, many years ago, but I went to a massage therapist, and she looked at me and she goes, "Oh, your body's so acid." And at the time, I remember looking at her going, "How can you tell? How can you tell I have an acid body?" But now it's getting easier and easier. I can look at people and tell if they're overly acidic or if they're very alkaline. I don't know what it is exactly. Maybe it's something about the skin, or I don't know, but I can tell. I think I can tell what she was talking about.
One thing, they no doubt look more alive.
Yeah, definitely.
That's part of it. Okay, so that's one thing that we can do for ourselves. Aim more in the alkaline direction, with every meal, not just, as a generic idea.
Right, and you could start the morning off with lemon juice in water, with hot water. That's a really good way to alkalize your body. And basically, that's why I brought out some of these veggies in the back, because they are all alkaline. People are saying, what is an alkaline food? Basically, if you stick with fruits and veggies, you're going to be doing pretty good. Green leafy veggies and cruciferous. Along with that question, I think it's 18% of Americans are getting enough cruciferous vegetables in their diet. So that's another thing to kick it up a notch.
And the cruciferous are the broccoli,
cauliflower.
Yes.
Brussels sprouts.
Sprouts, yes, those types. Yes, thank you. We've got a comment I want to remark here. Do you see the comment from Marcus about so far he's only had an apple and some dried fruit as part of his morning muesli? Just full cornbread with 2 kinds of cheese, along with the apple at noon. Can you see that comment, Pamela?
Can you bring it up, Tamara?
I'm sorry, but I'm...
Click on that.
There it is.
Oh, there we go.
You see it? There. Thank you, Marcus, for letting us know, sharing, what you had for breakfast. What can he do, Pamela?
Well, I think it's really cool that you're sharing it, because a lot of times people, we get in our own kind of routine about what we eat, and the whole thing is to get a variety of fruits and vegetables and get a variety of leafy greens. You don't want collards every single day, right? You want a variety. So I think it's great that you share that, Marcus. I'm just looking for some other comments. Here's one. John Frasca says, I've heard that fiber is important for gut health. What is the recommended amount of fiber in a healthy diet? Well, that depends. For women, it is around 25 grams, and for men, it's around 38 grams. And most Americans are getting about 15 grams. So it's another thing when people are saying, how much protein are you getting? How much protein are you getting? And it's just like there are so many other things to be concerned about, like fiber is one of them. I think we all need to get more fiber because it lowers the blood sugar, and there's so many benefits of fiber.
Also, some things to do to increase your fiber. Of course, an apple is always good. Like Marcus had an apple. That was a very good start to the day. And then, if you are eating beans, those are cooked foods. What is your thought on beans, Pamela? Fiber.
Well, let's back up just a little bit, because you were saying about the apple. And where is Kat had a comment here? Here we go. She goes, I like the idea of not looking older, but don't want to spend my whole life in the kitchen. What are essentials I should keep on hand for when I need to whip up something quick? And what I was going to say, because you brought up the apples, Tamara, is if you eat a few apples during the day, that's going to be really helpful for you, because it makes you feel full, and they're just so good for you. And we're going to get into a lot more of this in session number 4. So come on back for that, because that's going to be specifically on to-go snacks and what we can eat.
And I also want to add something that you can do to start out the day to alkalize your diet, because the morning is very important. Throw in a green smoothie. You can. It's easy. You whip up, get some greens. Like I go to Costco, you can buy a bag of power greens.
And you can get organic there too. That's good.
Yeah, organic, and you dip in. Put a handful and put it in the blender. Add a apple or half a banana or some avocado, some water. What else do you like to put in your smoothies?
Coconut water. I love, love, love coconut water. And the thing about alkalizing in the morning that is so important is because, I grew up on a dairy farm, and I always heard, you got to have dairy, you got to have dairy. But you really don't, because dairy actually is acidic, and it's leaching the minerals out of your bones, because our bodies are so amazing that it maintains about that 7.4 pH level, and if it starts to get too acidic, it's going to start taking from our bones and our teeth the minerals that it needs for the blood to stay at that pH level. So, there was another question here about, is this for anti-aging or is it for lifestyle diseases? And basically, everything you do to reduce the amount of lifestyle diseases is going to make you look better too. Yes. So it's really a win-win situation. It's a holistic approach. It isn't like if you do this, it's going to be good for that. It's good for your whole entire body.
Yes, and I want to add also the calcium factor. There's the milk is. Everyone has always pushed milk due to the calcium, but if you do eat greens in larger quantities, up to 1 to 2 bunches a day, if you can, you have to pretty much fit those into a smoothie. It's really hard to eat that much in a salad. But
yeah,
if you
do that much.
Have quite a, have a snack of a smoothie too during the day. But that is a lot of calcium in there.
Yeah. Yeah, what I like to do is make a smoothie, a big one, and then have half of it for a little bit later. And that works really good for me. Now, I got to pull this one up. Kat is our friend here saying, ka-ching, ka-ching. how does the cost of all the veggies behind you compare with the cost of meats, grains, dairy, processed foods? Well, Kat, my friend, I will tell you that the meat and dairy industries are heavily subsidized. So they get no kickback from the government for any of this fruit and vegetable. And so if you go out and you get a pack of bologna for, I don't even know what that stuff costs anymore, but it's going to be cheaper. And dairy, you know, you get a big gallon of milk for a lot less than you would for soy milk or almond milk or something like that. But there was a point in my life where I was always saving for another car or something else or clothes or whatever. But I remember that moment when I looked at my friend who was radiating this healthy glow, and he didn't have any problem spending money on good quality food. And as my mom said too, you can pay now or you can pay later. Like people going in for, you know, a lot of treatments, they spend $500,000 easily on medical problems. And they say the #1 cause of bankruptcy is because of medical issues. So yes, this, you know what, this cost me $40, I think. You know, when I went to the store and I got all of this stuff and some more stuff that's still in my kitchen. I didn't want to bring it all out here, but it was $40. If you get a Happy Meal, I don't know what that is now, $10 or something, 8, I don't know. But yeah.
Oh no, it's only like $3.50 or $4 or something.
No, I'm thinking of the super size, you know, the deluxe one with the double cheeseburger thing. Anyway, I think that's more, but I'm just saying, for me, it's totally worth it because I look and feel so much better. Now, I'm going to share something with you guys real quick here. Let me do screen share. Because when I was growing up, I started to look like this gal on the left, Tanya Zavasta. She's beautiful on Raw Woman. And this was her when she was in her 20s, early 20s. And this is her when she's in her 50s. But you see how puffy her face is? That puffiness, that's what my face started to look like. And I started to get wide, you know, about as wide as I was tall. It wasn't that bad. But I could tell it was like you can either get on this train track or the other train track. And it just depends. And you've got to make a decision that you're worth it. You could be part of a CSA. I mean, I did that where we just got free food for volunteering in the community-supported agriculture. So there are lots of ways to be creative about this, but that is my answer to you, Kat, when you say how much should all those veggies cost, because we've got to know that we're worth it to spend the kind of money, because if we're sick, we're of no use to anyone. I'm gonna, as long as I'm screen sharing, I'm gonna bring up this other post that I put, because this is a 5-minute salad that I did, and when we're used to the standard American diet, like with burgers and shakes and all that stuff and chips and everything, donuts, sure, you can get those like 3 for $1 or something like that, but when we're used to that, we think we're being nourished, and people have never questioned me whenever I, you know, used to eat meat and things like that. People never ask me, hey, where are you getting your phytochemicals? Where are you getting your antioxidants? Where are you getting your fiber? They never ask that. But as soon as I put up something like this is my salad for the day, the question I got that day was from my friend, Alan Chong, who says, where's the protein serving, Pamela Ziemann? And I had to respond back, no worries. Yellow strips are sprouted tofu, 16% protein, 12% protein in the radish, and it goes on and on. We just don't think that a salad that looks beautiful and colorful and full of texture has protein, but it does. And getting back to the Hunzas, they eat about 10% of their calories from protein. Most Americans are getting too much protein in their diet, which is very taxing to their kidneys.
Pamela, I would like to say a few things about chimpanzees, if this is a good time.
Go for it.
Okay. now I read the book several years ago by Victoria Butenko. She's a raw foods advocate, and called Green for Life. And she talked about the chimpanzees that were studied at the Chimpanzee and Human Communication Institute at Washington Central University in Ellensburg, Washington. That's not far from where we are. And they no longer have these chimpanzees there. They got old, and they moved them out, and the last two in 2013. But what they decided about these chimpanzees was that they should be categorized as a people, because they're so similar to people, us people. So one of the similarities is that they both share an estimated 99.4% of our DNA. So they're more alike. We are more like them, and they are more like us than any other species. So they are more like us than gorillas. They are like gorillas or something else, some other animal like that. So Victoria studied these because, or did some research because she was wondering, what do the chimpanzees eat? They're out there. Do they need a lot of protein? And just like the Hunsas, we know the Hunsas need, do fine on 10%. But the chimpanzees, here's what they eat when they're in the wilderness. They eat 25 to 50% greens, depending on the season. They don't eat any root vegetables. It's just rare unless there's some starvation happening. They eat up to 50% fruit. They eat 2 to 7% pith and bark, which means stems and fibrous parts of the plants. And they also eat small amounts of insects and occasionally small animals. And the animals, they can go for many months without eating any animals at all. So if we're talking about the standard way of looking at food, we are all supposed to be having a good percentage of protein, but it's just not. It's incorrect. It's downright wrong. So anyway, these chimpanzees are thriving. So Pamela, say a few words.
Yeah, and I wanted to say how this protein myth is just a distraction. I really believe that the meat and dairy industries just want us to be so distracted, and we've been indoctrinated to automatically ask, where are you getting your protein? But here's something from the Hunsas. The Hunsas get 50 grams of protein. That's about what I get in a day for my activity level and my size and everything. About 50 grams is good for me. The average American gets 100 grams of protein every day, so they're getting about double what they need. And then as far as fat, 36 grams of fat is what the Hunsas get, 157 grams of fat the typical American gets in a day. And then the Hunsas eat about 1,900 calories, and the average American eats about 3,300 calories a day.
Oh my gosh.
We can learn a lot from the animals. We really can. They eat raw, and I think, I'm not 100% raw, but I think getting at least a 51% of our diet as raw is a really good idea. And the rhinoceroses, the hippopotamuses, elephants, they're all vegetarian, and they're pretty dang strong. So, and
go ahead, Pamela.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to just finish the part about the chimpanzees. Victoria Butenko has translated their diet to our diet, and she would say if we were to eat what they do, that would mean 4 to 5 pounds of fruit a day. And a pound is, a large apple is close to a pound, so it's not like it's a huge amount of fruit. And then, that's more fruit than I would need, but anyway. And then 1 to 2 good-sized bunches of dark leafy greens. So we're talking about, the kale in the store, a bunch. That's quite a bit. And she found that the only way you can really fit that into your diet is by smoothies.
Right, because you can fit so much into the blender and drink it down.
Yes.
I also wanted to say that the Hunsas are practically untouched by cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and they eat a lot of apricots, which are Laetrile. Remember Laetrile back in the 70s, and the FDA banned it because it was so helpful for beating these diseases. And chimpanzees, how often do you see them go to the doctor? I mean, I went to my doctor when I had really high triglycerides. It was many years ago, but I remember sitting in my car, and I got my blood work back, and I thought, you know, I felt pretty healthy. I didn't think there was anything wrong with me. And my doctor said, your triglycerides are over 400. And I was so shocked. But the tone of her voice, she was like, you got to get in here. We got to get you on medication immediately. You know, and there was just like this frenetic kind of, get in here. We got to get you on medication. And I thought, whoa, 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 whoa. Even though it was startling to me, I thought, okay, what can I do? I completely got off packaged foods. I just ate like the stuff in back of me, right? I ate that for 2 months. I went back to get my blood work done. My triglycerides were completely normal. And I wonder, you know, if I would have gone that route, I would have been on medication the rest of my life. You know, but medication is kind of like a permission slip. Go ahead and eat crap, you know, because we're going to give you this pill and it will adjust some things. But it's sort of like that whack-a-mole. You adjust here and something pops up over here. So I just wanted to share that story because it's very empowering to know that by eating better, and I know that food isn't everything, it's relationships, it's the air we breathe, it's exercise, but what do we have control over? What is actionable in our lives?
Thank you, Pamela. Thanks for sharing that triglyceride story. That's quite a story. Now, I want to say I know people who do take the statin drugs that do lower the, you know, cholesterol in the blood. And I think that the doctors that prescribe those, they prescribe those to people because they figure people are not going to want to change their lifestyle. You know, they don't even, I mean, they might, today they may say, you know, we've got to change your diet, you know, send you to a nutritionist, and that's all really good to do that. But I think that the original impetus of the cholesterol-lowering drugs was just because people aren't going to, you know, take it into their own hands.
Yeah, how disempowering is that? Wow. I want to give people a few doctors that I've followed in the past that have done decades worth of research on this, and they've got peer-reviewed studies. Like one is Dr. Neil Barnard. He's the guy who started Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, PCRM. He's got a book on reversing diabetes. Reversing diabetes, you want to do this with the help of your doctor, because if you start eating like this and then you go out, you know, you're still taking the medication, this is so powerful that you really have to check in with your doctor and reduce the medication, because people have gotten off their medication really very quickly. Dr. Joel Furman has a book called The End of Diabetes. Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn has, he was the doctor for President Bill Clinton, and he has reversed heart disease, not just prevented it, but actually reversed heart disease. And Dr. Dean Ornish, she's been around for a long time, has done a lot of amazing work with lifestyle choices, you know, rather than medication.
Yes, and so, Pamela, one of the things about this series is we're going to be talking about community next time. So one of the ways to change is to be in a community. I don't want to talk too much about that today, but, you know, that's...
We'll get more into that in the third session, and the power of connecting with people and doing that. Yes. I want to bring up Karen Cleveland's comment. Thanks, everybody, for your comments. I see them rolling in, and if we don't get to them in this hour, we'll definitely comment after the show is over. Karen Cleveland says, I've noticed I feel a lot better after eating fresh, organic foods. Do you suppose there is a correlation between our food and longevity and our attitude?
Well, you know, one of the things is the alkalinity that we were just talking about. That's going to change our mood a lot. And, Pamela?
Yes.
Go on from there.
There are so many comments here. Oh, yeah, and as far as the alkalinity, the more we have a constant alkaline environment in our body, the more it's going to affect our moods. You know, to have that stable, you know, it's not that you become like lifeless by any means. I feel like I have way more energy now than I ever had in the past, but that will help a lot. What raw or natural foods help us best produce energy? Christopher Parasol wants to know. For instance, is there a food that might be comparable to the energy rush provided by, say, coffee? Coffee? Well, one thing, coffee is very acidifying to the body. You know, there's all kinds of studies. You just, you know, we have to do our own research and make decisions from there. But another thing we can do is to have some goji berries, are really good for energy, or you could have some probiotics like sauerkraut. If you have sauerkraut, you got the live enzymes going on in those kind of products like kombucha or kimchi or a cultured coconut yogurt. Anything like that is going to give you the energy, because with raw foods, it has the enzymes intact. And so when we're eating cooked foods or dead food, we have to, you know, our body has to go and produce enzymes to help us digest that food. So that's what takes our energy down. Then we have some coffee to get to the other side of that. I know I'm covering quite a bit in a short amount of time, but I just want to share as much as possible, because when you start, you know, switching over from the SAD diet, there's a lot that I want to share with people. Sorry.
That's okay. Don't apologize. I do want to say that if you're talking about cultured foods and probiotics like sauerkraut, that not the canned kind, but the kind, you know, in the co-op in the refrigerated section. All you need is like 2 tablespoons before a meal. You don't need to eat a whole half cup or anything. It's just, it helps. You know, that's all you need, and it really makes a big difference. And also, as far as energy, you know, it's the SAD diet method. I mean, a way of life is you eat food, maybe you overeat because you have, you know, you're triggered into overeating because you're, you know, lots of those grains and sweets trigger more eating. So anyways, you say you've eaten a little too much, and then you get tired, so then you want to put some coffee or some chocolate or something. However, if you're doing it with vegetables, smoothies, fruits, you know, as your primary foods, you don't have that ups and downs. So you don't really need to have a quick pick-me-up. Wouldn't you say?
And it's not so hard on the body that when the body's going up and then down and up and down, it really takes a toll on our body. And I also believe that being around energizing people, you know, like I love hanging out with you, Tamara, and people commenting and things like that, when we remember our purpose in life and really focus on the purpose rather than perhaps doing a job that we don't really like that is dragging us down. That's why I called it Self-Care Superstar, because it really does relate to so much more than food. Are we in an environment that makes us feel happy, you know?
Definitely. Yes, it all works together. Now, do we have any other comments to get to?
We do have some comments, and I want to share one other thing. Are you seeing my screen now, Tamara?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Look at these ladies. These ladies are on a raw food diet, and this woman who wrote the book, Karen, she lives in Chicago, Soak Your Nuts. She's 67 years old. Check it out. Now, granted, this book is about 2 years old now, but okay, so she's 65. If I look like that at 65, I would be very happy.
Yes.
And then Sunny Griffin over here, she is the founder of the skincare product Astara, and she's 74 years old. She was born in 1940. Check it out. So that is like when I think I could go this way or that way. It's like I want to resonate more with people who are taking charge of their health, taking responsibility, and looking like these two ladies. They look amazing.
Yes, thank you for showing us that, Pamela. I think it's just, we don't have to, you know, we're fed a lot of ideas in the mainstream media, and we don't have to go along with it. We don't have to retire and, you know, go downhill. We don't even have to retire. We can just keep doing what we love or stop.
Exactly. Such a great point. Here's Kelly Campbell. She was in one of my classes, and she said, I eat a lot of raw food now and have found a way to satisfy my hunger. I think that's a big part, because in the beginning, if we're used to the fat, salt, and sugar, you know, like in the pleasure trap, that video, I put that in the homework section if you want to watch that video in the community section. The link will be down below. But we feel hungry, but sometimes it's just a matter of we're detoxing. We're detoxifying our body from all of that old fat, salt, and sugar. And she said she found a way to satisfy her hunger. What I feel is my mind is clear and I have more energy. So when you're doing this, get over, you know, the first couple of weeks, depending on what your body, what kind of shape it is in right now. It could take a little while, so stick with it until you get to the other side.
Pamela, I was just thinking, since we are giving people some, you know, 2 or 3 things that they can do between now and next Sunday, when the next session is, I think one of them, I mean, you've got some wonderful homework coming up, but I'm also thinking as far as food goes, I would say, you know, fit in a smoothie, 1 smoothie a day. What do you think?
I think that's a good idea. If they have a blender, that's awesome. And I think we talked about that in session number 1 too, of swapping out, you know, one meal that isn't so healthy for a really great meal, and then tune in with yourself. Don't tune into an outside source, but tune into yourself. How do you feel because of that?
Yes, that's very important. And it's also good to have a tracking sheet, as Pamela's going to show us here.
Yeah, so you see this on the screen now, Tamara?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is a self-care tracking sheet. I'm going to put it in the homework section of our community, and it's just free for you. I wanted to give it to you that you can check out all the different areas of your life, you know, physically, with the food that you're eating, mentally, what are you feeding your mind, emotionally, you know, and check this out. Between now and our next program is Sunday. Do something for yourself and then do something for someone else. And it's even better if you do it anonymously. And just notice how you feel. And then the spirituality part as well. But you can read more about that in the community.
And speaking of the community, in the comment section you will see a link for the community if you haven't joined it yet. So,
right.
So check that out.
So, any other questions? I know, was it Lon? Lon was asking where you get coconut water. I haven't been successful in finding coconut water locally. Have you checked? I mean, my health food store has it here, and then a friend and I are going to get a case of it together and split it. I don't know of any online source. I imagine that there are online sources, but even I don't usually go into the mainstream grocery store, but I've found that even our mainstream grocery store in my little town of Sequim, Washington, has the young Thai coconuts for $2.99, which is an excellent deal because you can, you know, pop the top off. I've got a YouTube. I can share this in the community as well, about how to open a coconut. You get all of that super hydrating water, which is excellent, and then you can scoop out the coconut meat and throw that in a smoothie. It's absolutely delicious.
All right, so when you're talking about a young Thai coconut, that means young, it's an immature coconut, and it's Thai, Thai, and it's a special, being able to open it up has a little bit of trick to it, right?
It actually, the first time was really hard, but now it's super easy for me. Maybe I'll demo it on one of our shows. Kombucha is great, Marcus says. I love kombucha too. It's super easy. So Christopher was asking about how can I do something other than coffee? Try kombucha, because I imagine you will feel the energy. I love it too, and that is pretty much everywhere you go now.
And also, if you don't see any coconut water at your store, you know, they come in boxes. If you don't, or bottles, if you don't see it, you know, that may not be the best grocery store. You know, there's your standard American diet grocery stores, and then there's some that are transition into, you know, the health food stores. There's a way in between. There's some stores that are in between, so I would recommend moving to the in between, you know, stores.
Right.
Don't you think, Pamela?
I want to say one thing about coconut water. We have just a minute or two left. And coconut water, when it first was all the rage, I would buy it out of those boxes and drink it. And I'm like, ugh, I don't like this at all. And then I got some of the unpasteurized coconut water. Harmless Harvest has one. I'm not real crazy about the plastic bottle that it comes in, but I drank that, and it was night and day difference. It was more expensive, but it was way, I could just tell how I feel when I drink that. My body is so hydrated. I love it. So try to get the unpasteurized coconut water rather than, especially if it has any flavoring in there. I stay away from that, especially if it's like $1.49 or something like that.
Okay, Pamela, I have to agree with you because I stopped drinking coconut water in the box. I just thought, I haven't even looked for the raw kind. So, and Marcus may need to, I don't know where he's going to find the raw kind. It needs to be refrigerated, correct?
Yeah, it does. And if you see it on the shelf, you don't want to buy it. You want to buy it from the refrigerated section.
So Marcus does he live in Germany?
In Germany, and it's a lot like, actually, I think it was Lon that was asking about the coconuts.
Oh,
Marcus was a kombucha guy.
okay.
My sister was similar to you, Tamara, because my sister's like, coconut water, what's all the rage? I'm not into this at all. She didn't like it, but it's because she got, pasteurized and sitting on a shelf. Anything that's been sitting on a shelf, I think, is suspect. So when you come back for session number 4, I'm going to show you how to make fresh salad dressings, which is one of my missions in life, is to teach people how to make fresh salad dressing, so you don't have to buy that stuff in a bottle that's been sitting, shelf stable on a shelf. You don't want to buy that stuff.
And one of the things about salad dressings are you can, put some into a cup and you can dip fresh vegetables into it, and it makes vegetables much more enjoyable if you're not used to eating raw vegetables.
There you go, Kat. There's another idea for you. You have some vegetables and you have a dip that makes it really good. It doesn't have to take a lot of time or a lot of money even. For those people worried about money, you can make some fabulous bean dips. You asked about beans earlier, Tamara. I'm sorry I didn't get to that thought you had. But beans, I have a pressure cooker, and I love it because I can whip up some black beans, and my friend John Frasca out there is making some fabulous black bean brownies, which are so good. You get the fiber in there. You can't even taste that there are black beans in these brownies. So, if you want kind of a nice little treat, but you also want it to be fairly healthy, there are lots of ideas, but you will not find these ideas in mainstream media. You just won't, because it's like people like you and I are sharing what we're learning and how we can get healthier outside of the system. So
Yes, and we're doing it together. So next time we're going to be talking more about community. Pamela, can you give a few hints?
Well, a few hints. Yes, I can, because when I first went vegan, I thought, oh my God, that is such a stretch. I mean, I'm vegetarian. Isn't that enough? It was huge. And my friend down at the treadmill, Andy, she said, you know what? I'm going to go vegan. And I was like, what? And I said, I'm going to try it too. So I went 21 days. And the thing about it was I had the support of my friend Andy, and I didn't want to go down to the treadmill and say, well, I had some eggs or I had some dairy, I just couldn't do it. So I stuck with it for 21 days. And after 21 days, I didn't miss it at all. Whereas in the beginning, I thought this is going to be so hard. It's going to be so hard. But having that support and the power of that, that's what we're going to talk about on Sunday. So come back for that, and catch a replay, whatever you can. But we love to have you live, and I love seeing all these comments streaming in here.
And also, I'll add that we can transition in however far we want to go. If you're eating meat today, you may want to cut out meat one day a week. That may be all you want to change.
That's true.
Part of the community is encouraging each other however far we want to go.
Right. Yeah, the thing is, you know, if you want a little transformation, you add a little bit. If you want a lot of transformation, you add more. But it really is your call, like whatever you feel comfortable with. Some people, like personally, my personality is the kind that says, I'm going to go for it. You know, but other people find it's better suited for their personality to say, you know what, I'm going to swap out a kombucha for a coffee today, and then just see how that goes. And I don't have to change anything else, but I'm just going to add a little bit. Maybe I'll add a little, you know, really nicely spiced sauerkraut. I don't like the plain stuff myself, but if you get the dill caraway brand, that I like. You know, so just, you know, it's all up to you. Nobody can talk you into this lifestyle. Nobody. No matter how motivational they are, it's got to be your decision, and you've got to want to do it. And when you do, when you make that decision, that's the first step, then everything starts falling into place. Like people have said, and me too, the weight just fell off. I wasn't even trying. The weight just fell off. So it's easy. And my blood work just came right back to normal. So it's all good as far as I can see.
Also, you know, some people, the reason they may want to kind of take it slow is because they are so busy, you know, thinking, oh, I just don't have time to go buy a bunch of vegetables, you know. So take it a little at a time, and it's everything you do, every step you do will make all kinds of benefits, not just, you know, it won't be small. So, you know, one step at a time.
That's such a great point, Tamara. I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay, good. All right, so anyway, so we're meeting again on Sunday at what time? Pacific?
11 o'clock Pacific time.
Okay.
And if you go into the community, you can get that self-care tracking sheet. You can go along with that, and I encourage you to put your comments into the community because we can start connecting with each other. And we will address all the comments that you've left here if we didn't get to them on the show.
All right, and Pamela, are we talking with people in the green room after this show today?
Oh, let's do that. Let's do that. If anybody, I'm going to hit stop broadcast right now, but for those of you who want to jump in and just say hello, let us know, and then I will invite you in, okay?
And also tell your friends about this, you know, and they can watch replays, and they can join us live on Sunday and Tuesday.
Excellent.
All right.
Okay, thanks everybody. See you Sunday.